Hi guys, I'm David with Media Unlocked, and today we're going to be doing our second photo editing episode. Now I know it's been a month since the last one and I apologize for that. I just have not had the time to do another one. So a friend of mine has a kid, as you can see, and she called me up. It's the first time that it really got a good snow here in Kentucky, and asked if I could come take some pictures of her kid. Now, I haven't done a lot of kid photos, but her kid is, as you can see, very photogenic, very easy to work with. And mainly what we did is we just let the kid run around in the backyard, and she was just having a blast playing in the snow, and I was just taking pictures, kind of a candid moment. So there isn't a lot to do to this picture, but you could definitely make it pop more, and that's kind of what we're going to do. We're going to make it pop a little bit in here in Lighting Room, and we'll send it over to Photoshop for the final edits. Things that I'm going to be wanting to get rid of are like these tree branches over here. I'm going to want to go in and cut all these out so that it's just white snow over here to the left. And then if you notice the jacket, if you look really close, you've got some noise issues here with the jacket. So we're going to be going over fixing that up a little bit as well. So as you can see, the photo is fairly well composed, exposure I should say. So there are different things we could do. You have your clarity option over here, which I'm a huge fan of, not always. But we could pop that in, and that darkens some of the shadows, really pops it out, but it brings her eyes get a little dark. So we're going to want to bring that clarity down. Now if you bring the clarity too far in, you kind of get that glow and glow look to it. So what I think is like a 29, just a little bit of pop. We're probably going to want to fill our blacks a tad bit more to knock this jacket down a little bit so the noise doesn't look as bad. So we're just going to bring the blacks in just a tad bit, but not too much. And if you notice, the noise on the jacket goes down a little bit. So yeah, you can mess around with your fill light, which I really don't think we're going to need any fill light. I don't really think that's going to add anything to it. It's going to, again, it doesn't look bad, but then you get all that noise on the jacket, which just looks horrid. So we're going to leave the lighting as is for now. And you could do a recovery, and that's going to darken up the photo and really bring out her face. If you notice, it gets kind of blotchy with the red and then the different coloration in her face, which I really don't like. So I'm going to bring that back to where it's a little more even in her face as far as the color in her face looks. We could add a little vibrance and saturation. I'll probably knock up the vibrance a tad bit, but not too much. So we'll bring the vibrance up a little bit. And we could scroll on down to sharpening. We could sharpen things up a little bit if we wanted to. So we could bring our sharpening up to that. And that's a little over sharpened, I believe. So I'm going to do my sharpening in Photoshop. I like my sharpening options in Photoshop considerably better. Other things you could do, if you're trying to kill some of the background, it would be pretty easy to cut her out or cut around her and then add in kind of like a blur around her, which could look really nice. So we may try to do that and see how that looks. So let's go on and let's edit in Photoshop. So this is all I really needed out of Lightroom. We're going to edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. So it's going to edit the photo with the adjustments we just made here in Lightroom. So I'm going to want to sharpen up the photo a little bit. I'm going to want to get rid of these twigs over here on the left quite a bit. The tree branches, they're going to really get on my nerves, and I think they're going to take away from the photo, so I just kind of want to kill those. Which, taking care of the tree branches is going to be really easy because the tree branches are dark with the snow being much lighter. It's going to make taking care of the tree branches much easier, and actually we can go on and knock out that right now. So that won't take too long. We're literally just going to use our spot healing brush, and we're just going to go around and slowly do that. Now we might have to do some cloning when we get closer to her jacket up here. We might have to just clone that whiteness. So, but for this will do the job for getting rid of the tree branches right here. See, now that did that. So what I'm going to do is Control Z, and that takes me back one, and then I'm going to make my spot healing brush a tad bit. And this is a little discoloration here, so let's try to make that look a little more even right there. And then let's jump over to here and let's take care of these tree branches and twigs and limbs. Let's see here. And it's really easy, pretty simple to do. As you can see, we might have to do some cloning right there, or bring down my spot healing brush, making it a little bit smaller so it's picking up the information a little bit differently. And yeah, we're gonna go on and move this and make it a little bit smaller and work our way up that branch. So this is really simple, and it's gonna make the picture look a lot better. And I'm gonna have to do some cloning here. I'm not gonna be able to use the spot healing as easy. It would be easier just to clone the snow around it on top of the branches and just kill it that way. So and then we're going to bring out our cloning tool here, and let's see here, the information here looks pretty decent, so we're just going to hit the Alt or Option key and just bring it on top, and then we'll go back over here and still it again and bring it on top, and then here. Now you want to be careful that you're not going to get overlap onto her gloves or something like that. So I'm going to bring this down just a tad bit. And as you can see with the cloning tool, you can really get rid of a lot of stuff, but you need to make sure that when you clone that you're getting very similar information. I mean, if I'm pulling from over here and then trying to clone that over here, as you can see, that does not look as nice, or that doesn't look good at all. So I'm trying to clone these, so I'm going to be pulling the information from as close to the object as possible. And other things you can do if you really wanted to be very specific, you could go up here and use your I don't think this is the lasso tool, but this is the polygraph lasso tool, and this could make things a little bit easier to work with as well. And you could kind of make an outline real quick if you wanted to do. This will probably speed up your process a tad bit if you need to speed up your process. And that way everything you're going to clone can only be done inside these parameters now. So I could go out here, do this, and I don't have to worry about cloning any of this over here because everything that I'm doing is only going to be within these lines. So that makes things a little bit easier about worrying about getting overlap or getting it onto the jacket or the gloves here. So alright, that looks pretty good. So we'll do Control D will deselect everything that you had selected, and now we're going to pull back out and see how that looks. So you can't ever tell that there are any twigs there, and so that's really gonna help the shot out, and it's gonna the twigs and the branches will not pull you in. And over here, I like the footsteps. I like this over here. What else? What could we? So next thing you could do, other options you have in the photo when I originally edited it, I cut this out right here. I just kind of cut that swing out, but I'm going to leave it in there for now. I'm going to use the quick selection tool around her body. So and the Alt option does a minus, so you can minus around it. So if it selects something that you don't want it to select, you can just hit the Alt and Option, and it will not do that any longer. All right. And we'll pull. And see, it's going to select the gloves here, so we're going to hit the Option or Alt key, and we're going to go back out and go around the gloves here so that the gloves are not selected, because I don't want her to be in any of this selection. Just want it to be an outline of her. And we got to get all of this here. It's going to take a second. It's a lot of information for the computer to process. Alright, for the most part. Get that out right there. That's pretty well selected on this side, and let's look over here and finish doing all of this over here. And where we go? Oh, there we go. Got one little bit left, and right here. Alright, so she's pretty well selected. Let me just make sure here. That looks pretty good. So I'll have to do probably some small changes once I do what I'm going to do here, and I'll show you. So we have a couple different options of things that we could do. Now that she's selected, you could work on her if you wanted to, or you could work on everything on the outside, the outline of her. So let's say I want to add some vibrance in here, and I want to make some of these items in the background pop a little bit more. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Image, we're going to go to Adjustments, and then we're going to go to Vibrance, or you could use Hue and Saturation as well, but I'm going to pop up with Vibrance and Saturation. So if we wanted to add a bunch of vibrance, now you can notice that the vibrance did everything outside of her. So of course that's way too much. Or if we wanted to leave her in color, let's say, we could pull back our saturation, and it's going to saturate everything behind her, which I actually like. That looks pretty good to me. So maybe a little too much saturation. We're going to bring it in just a tad bit so that she sticks out of the picture, like she's, you know, in your face, sticking out of the picture, or everything in the background is kind of dull and boring. And I was thinking it might look good to bring the yellows out a little bit more and the blues, but I didn't like it. So before, this is what the original looks like, and then with that, so we might knock down the saturation quite a bit more. So before, and this is what it looks like now. If I wanted to do specific work just on her, I would go up to Image, not Image, my apologies. I'd go to Select, I'd go to Invert. So now it's going to work on everything within the lines here. So there are things I could do, like could bring out her eyes more if I wanted to. And let's just say I want to mess with brightness and contrast, just to show you guys. I could really blow her out if I wanted to. Of course I don't want to. This is not something. And you could go in and you're just editing her. You're not editing everything around it. So again, we're going to X out of that. I want to keep it how it is. We're going to go back to Select, Invert, so it's everything in the background. And I think I want to add in I want to see what a filter with a blur would look like. Let's see, what kind of blur do I want to use? I could use a sharp blur, a lens blur. A lens blur might look good. So let's bring in the lens blur here. So it's going to bring open a separate screen, which we need to minimize so you guys can see it here. And let's bring that open just a tad bit more so we can get more of the shot in. And let's bring it down a size. Okay. So I'll bring it up one little bit so I can see a little bit better. So we could add in a blur if we wanted to add in. There's different things that we could do here. And let's bring up the radius. And now that, see how that just throws her out? Like she is completely. And we'll click OK just so you can see what it looks like in the actual shot. And it actually might turn out to be good, but I'm guessing it's not going to look good because all these sharp edges right here, that just is not going to look realistic. And then you have a few things like this that you're going to have to go in and touch up, which I'll show you how to do here in a minute. And it is taking, my computer's taking a second to process it at the moment. And I'm sorry it's such a long video. I just kind of wanted to show you guys a couple different things, and hopefully this is helping you out with some of your photo editing out there. So I'm almost done editing this photo. We're not going to do a blur this crazy. I'm going to go back and get rid of it, but I just kind of wanted to show you what it looks like. And it's almost finished now. Alright, so as you can see, and then this is some parts that when I was doing the selecting earlier, I guess I didn't select these, so I'd go in and I'd have to reselect those. So as you can see, it's way too blurred, so we're going to do a Control-Z, which is going to take us back out. I still want to do a blur. I just don't want to do a blur that with a radius that large. So we'll go back into blur, we'll go back into lens. Actually, let's go back into blur and let's pull out a Gaussian. I like the Gaussian blur. I think it's also very simple to use. So and maybe a tad bit more. That's too much. So we probably want to do like a blur of maybe 10, 11. Nope, bring it down to maybe 9 or 8. Okay, that looks pretty good. I like that. And let's go back to this and let's select that. Let's go on and get these. And I'm going to Control-Z again, and I'm going to actually we'll do Control, and we'll step back once more before the blur. And let me just go on and forgot to add these. Make sure these guys are in the blur. And And now we'll go back to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and that looks good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do Control D. That will deselect everything. And let's see here. There were some things up here that looked a little weird. And yeah, that's not too bad. Let's go on and add that into the blur as well. So, and it's pretty simple. We're just gonna do this real outline here. And I think that will look a little bit nicer if we add that specific part into the blur. So raise Gaussian blur. There we go. Command D or Control D, and then let's just kind of look at our body, see if there's anything else that's just really sticking out. Like if you notice you've got some lines up here, you could go in and fix that. I mean, I could again be real specific and blur out this purple, or I could desaturate the purple. There are different things I could do with this. So, but we'll go on and add it into the blur and see how that looks real quick. And that purple doesn't look nearly as bad now. And yep, everything looks good for the most part. Pretty happy with it. So one last thing I could do that I'm gonna do and see what I think of it is we're gonna add in a sharpen, and I like the smart sharpen. So, and that's a little much. I mean, you could really sharpen it, and that's really going to kill your the noise off the jacket. So you don't want to sharpen it too much. Bring down the radius a tad bit. Sharpening is kind of hard to do because you can over sharpen. It's hard to get a perfect, like, well balanced sharpen sometimes, and sometimes sharpening just isn't the answer. So as you can see, what it looked like before and what it looks like now, and I almost like the before, almost. I just think I need to bring down the amount just a tad bit, and that looks good. That's kind of what I was going for. And there you go. You have an edited photo. Now there are some things that could be done that I'm not going to dive into right now. Like I said, we could go in and work on our eyes. I have another program called Portrait Professional 10. This is a great piece of software, and I could use this software to get the eyes where I wanted them at, which is a little bit easier on what Photoshop offers. So hopefully this helped you guys out. Now what I'm just going to do is I'm going to go to Save As. I'm going to save it as a JPEG. Now a lot of people do layers and stuff. I don't do layers unless I'm doing larger. If I'm going to do multiple things to the photo, more than what I just did there, then I would probably go in and add in some layers. So we're going to go back out, and this will go into the edited section, and then we're just going to save it, and then I'll save it, and there you go. So hopefully this helps you guys out. Check us out on Facebook at DavidDimages and Twitter at Media Unlocked. All links will be down below. If you have any questions, leave a comment, send me a message. I'll be more than happy to get back with you. Have a great one.